It's not by chance that you're viewing this video. There's a reason you're here. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust the timing of your life and know that you're being led to where you're meant to be. As you stumble on this video, perhaps not by chance, it will serve to awaken your spirit. There is something important you need to understand. Your discipline, your self-control, your obedience, and your unwavering refusal to compromise have shielded you from a danger you never even saw approaching. You may have believed that you were merely making small daily decisions. You may have thought you were simply being cautious or consistent. Yet in the unseen spiritual realm, every single act of discipline was constructing a protective barrier around you. Recently, that very wall you built through your commitment and restraint intercepted a storm that had been designed to destroy you. This message is not meant to instill fear. It is meant to bring confirmation. Heaven wants you to recognize that your discipline is not solely about achieving goals or maintaining order. It is, in fact, a divine mechanism of protection. You may not fully comprehend what God has spared you from, but soon you will experience the profound peace that comes with understanding this truth. You are still here, still standing, and still preserved because you chose to remain aligned with divine order. Before we proceed any further, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. This message is not mere content. It is a divine alert sent to those who are chosen. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has been offering support through your encouragement, your prayers, and your generous contributions. May God bless you abundantly. Your consistency, your faith, and your presence do not go unnoticed. To each of you who continues to watch, listen, and stay aligned, you are part of the faithful remnant that God is using to shift the spiritual atmosphere. If your spirit resonates with this frequency, type 77 in the comments. That number is not random. It is a sacred signal to the Most High and to the universe, declaring that you are awake, aware, and ready for divine preservation, prepared to receive the protection, provision, and promotion already written into your destiny. Understand this. Not everyone will remain until the end of this message. Only those meant to receive the full revelation will stay. Those who do will gain prophetic insight into what your recent discipline has accomplished in the unseen realm. You may have thought you were simply resisting temptation or staying focused on your purpose, but in truth, you were preventing a disaster that had been forming against you. This message is not one to hear once and move on from. It is a living word, a spiritual shield spoken into existence. Return to it whenever your faith feels tested, for each time you listen, another layer of divine protection will envelop you, strengthening your spirit and securing your steps. Let us now begin. Chapter 1. How discipline functions as a spiritual defense. To the untrained or merely natural eye, discipline may appear to be something mundane, a sequence of routine behaviors, daily choices, and personal boundaries that seem to restrict more than they release. It may be interpreted as mere self-denial, an austere schedule, or an unnecessary imposition of restraint upon one's freedom. Yet in the unseen dimensions of the spirit, it is none of these small or superficial things. In that realm, discipline reveals itself as divine armor, a living, breathing shield that God Himself fortifies and empowers each time you choose righteousness over recklessness, obedience over indulgence, and alignment over deviation. Every occasion on which you refused to return to the destructive habit that once held you captive was far more than a simple demonstration of self-control. It was the moment you welded another unbreakable plate of steel upon your spiritual armor. Every instance in which you walked away from a conversation that threatened to contaminate your spirit, every time you declined a tempting opportunity that did not align with heaven's standards, and every moment you resisted the subtle urge to compromise integrity for convenience, you were, without realizing it, constructing an invisible fortress, a wall of divine protection surrounding your soul. For you must understand, the enemy's strategy is seldom direct or easily discerned. He rarely approaches in forms that appear overtly destructive. Instead, he operates with quiet subtlety, concealing devastation within the folds of seemingly harmless compromises. He wraps spiritual poison in appealing packaging and persuades the weary heart to exchange its long-term calling for the comfort of immediate gratification. The instant such a compromise is accepted, a small opening appears. so small it might seem inconsequential. Yet that opening becomes a fracture, and the fracture, if unaddressed, expands into a doorway through which destruction can enter. But you, chosen one, refused him that access. You sealed the breach before it could even begin to widen. What you considered to be moments of ordinary restraint were, in truth, acts of profound spiritual warfare. Your discipline has been quietly, consistently canceling invitations to chaos. Each time you said no to something small, you were in reality denying permission to an entire chain reaction of events that would have worked against your destiny. Some storms you never saw were storms that never had the chance to form, because your obedience dismantled them before they could gather force. Some betrayals you never experienced were betrayals the enemy had carefully scheduled, but your restraint disrupted his timing. Some losses you were never aware of were losses that heaven prevented, because you chose to stay aligned with divine instruction at the very moment it would have been easiest to drift. And God saw it all. He witnessed the hidden moments, the quiet battles where temptation whispered its familiar invitations, where compromise presented itself as an easier path, where loneliness attempted to seduce you back into the comfort of old circles. Yet you stood unmoved. That steadiness was not the mere exertion of human willpower. It was the Spirit of God Himself rising within you, granting strength when danger approached, imparting wisdom when traps were set before you, and transforming every disciplined choice into a layer of holy protection surrounding your life. Discipline is not a cruel restriction meant to rob you of life's pleasures, but rather a sacred mechanism designed to preserve your destiny by safeguarding the seeds you have planted, ensuring that nothing uproots them before they bear fruit, while simultaneously positioning your spirit in a posture where God can entrust you with the next blessing without fear that it will be destroyed by your own hands. For when you live a disciplined life, you are not merely striving to be good, but are, in fact, cooperating with heaven's security system, remaining under divine coverage, and aligning yourself in such a way that you stay one step ahead of unseen dangers, hidden plots, and spiritual ambushes, which is precisely why the enemy despises your discipline, because he cannot infiltrate a fortified soul. And thus, without even realizing it, you have been walking through battlefields untouched, bypassing disasters that were waiting in the shadows, all because your God-empowered discipline has been functioning as a shield in the unseen realm. Chapter 2. The Danger That Lurked in Silence. Chosen one, understand that not every attack against you is visible to the natural eye, for some dangers arrive without sirens or red flags, creeping in quietly and clothed in disguise, appearing as blessings, moments of harmless fun, or small compromises that seem too insignificant to matter, because the enemy seldom presents himself as a monster, but rather masquerades as an answer to prayer, an exciting opportunity, or even a well-meaning friend who seems eager to help. And this is precisely why God, in His mercy, often withholds from you the full revelation of what He has protected you from, knowing that such knowledge might shake your confidence, stir unnecessary fear, or divert your focus from the divine assignment He entrusted to your hands. For there were nights when loneliness or boredom whispered invitations to go out, yet you chose to stay home, and that seemingly simple decision spared you from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. There were business deals that glittered with promise on paper, yet your spirit felt uneasy, and when you walked away in obedience, that act of restraint shielded you from financial ruin. There were relationships that appeared perfect in the beginning, but when God stirred your heart to leave, you later discovered that what felt like loss was actually deliverance from people who would have drained your joy, your energy, and your destiny. And though you may have questioned why certain doors refused to open, why opportunities slipped away, or why particular people withdrew from your life, the truth remains that those apparent setbacks were, in reality, divine interceptions. Moments when heaven itself stepped between you and unseen arrows, blocking attacks you never even knew were aimed at you. Because sometimes what feels like rejection is simply God placing His protective hand across the path before you and whispering, "Not this way, my child. Danger lies ahead." There were people who whispered and schemed against you in shadows, plotting in boardrooms, family gatherings, and social circles of which you were completely unaware. Yet every plan collapsed before it could take root. No word prospered against you, and even spiritual traps baited to exploit your old weaknesses were powerless to ensnare you because your discipline kept you steadfast enough to walk past them without turning back. Understand this. Sometimes God's greatest gift is not what He gives, but what He withholds. For what appears to be missed opportunities are in reality dodged spiritual bullets. And the reason you were spared is that you remained in position, never straying too far from His covering, never chasing after everything that glittered, never allowing curiosity to lead you into danger. With your discipline forming a protective fence around your life, keeping you inside the territory where the enemy could not touch you, proving that your protection was not luck, nor mere caution, but divine guidance. For in the unseen realm, being in the right place at the right time or refusing to be in the wrong place at the wrong time is often the very difference between victory and destruction, and you were shielded because you stayed exactly where God could guard you. Chapter 3. The Battle Within. Self-control as a sacred weapon. Self-control is not merely the act of holding yourself back, but one of the highest expressions of spiritual maturity and one of the most powerful weapons you can wield against the enemy. For while heaven calls it the fruit of the Spirit, hell calls it a blockade that interrupts demonic timing, blocks access, and dismantles traps set for your downfall. And because the enemy's kingdom thrives on impulse, chaos, and emotional reaction, he will attempt to provoke you into rushed decisions, angry words, or undisciplined actions, knowing that a chosen one who moves without prayer is vulnerable, yet a chosen one who moves with self-control becomes untouchable. So when you refrain from sending that angry text, it was not merely a personal victory, but a spiritual shutdown of the enemy's carefully arranged consequences that sought to open doors for accusation, division, or retaliation. When you declined an opportunity that felt rushed, it was not loss, but the act of stepping over a baited trap, as the enemy often disguises snares in the clothing of blessings, hoping you will seize them before consulting God. Yet your pause dismantled the countdown he set against you. And when you remained silent, instead of defending yourself to those who had already decided to misunderstand you, you engaged in divine warfare, refusing to fight on a battlefield God never called you to, recognizing that their ears were closed, their hearts hardened, and your words wasted, and so you allowed your silence to speak, letting God Himself be your defender and turning restraint into a weapon that thwarted the enemy at every level. The truth is that most of the warfare in your life is unseen, and every time you resist the urge to clap back, to prove yourself, or to rush ahead without clarity, you are in fact swinging a sword in the spirit, cutting off demonic access points before they can touch your life. And although self-control rarely earns headlines, no parades are thrown for the arguments you walked away from. No congratulations are posted for the temptations you resisted, and no public praise follows the boundaries you held firm. These very moments are seismic in the spirit realm, where angels rejoice, heaven records, and the enemy takes careful note. For the enemy does not always attack in big, obvious ways, but often seeks only to make you lose focus, tarnish your witness, or forfeit your blessing by acting outside God's will. Yet self-control denies him all of that. And though it may feel like doing nothing in the moment, in reality it accomplishes everything. Protecting your destiny, preserving your peace, proving that you are not a puppet of your emotions, but a vessel of God's Spirit, and confirming that a chosen one who refuses to be moved by chaos is, in truth, a chosen one the kingdom of darkness fears the most. Chapter 4. God's perfect timing safeguarding your life. There are times when God deliberately delays a blessing or prevents a particular move in your life, not out of neglect or oversight, but because He perceives dangers and outcomes that remain invisible to you. Your patience and discipline, often exercised in silence, provide Him the freedom to orchestrate events without interference. And in that restraint, whether consciously recognized or not, you are affirming a quiet yet profound act of faith that essentially says, "Lord, I trust your plan even when the complete picture is beyond my understanding." Although you may have experienced frustration and even despair as certain doors remained closed or as you observed others progressing while you seemed stagnant, the truth is that from a higher vantage point, God was monitoring not only the apparent opportunities before you, but also the hidden perils and complexities that lay beneath them, ensuring that you would be protected from circumstances that, if encountered prematurely, might have become burdens rather than blessings. Indeed, some blessings, if received before their appointed time, have the potential to overwhelm, while certain relationships and opportunities, though appearing beneficial or promising from the outside, may conceal spiritual toxins or traps that are invisible to the human eye. In such moments, the no that you received was not a denial, but a shield. And the silence you perceived from heaven was not an abandonment, but a calculated act of divine strategy, dismantling threats and setups aimed at you long before you could even perceive them, sparing you from storms you were never meant to face, and ensuring that you remain under the protection of God's perfect timing. Imagine for a moment that you had allowed impatience to push you through a door that was not yet meant for you. And in doing so, you might have found yourself entangled with the wrong people, bound by commitments that were never intended for you, or burdened with responsibilities that were never yours to carry. For often the enemy conceals his snares within what appears to be answered prayer, and without discernment, it is all too easy to mistake a counterfeit for the genuine. Yet your patience, your consistency, and your refusal to force outcomes kept you safely out of harm's way. You did not merely wait, but you waited with wisdom, choosing to remain planted rather than chasing every fleeting opportunity, staying faithful when restlessness tempted you, and refusing to allow fear to dictate your pace. And because of that careful restraint, you never outran the protective hand of God. Divine timing in this light reveals itself as one of the most potent weapons heaven can bestow, a mechanism through which every delay is transformed from seeming setback into divine provision. For some delays exist precisely to buy you safe passage, to allow dangers to expire before you arrive, to see the enemy's schemes collapse under their own weight before you step onto the scene. And when the appointed moment finally arrives, it will manifest so differently from anything you have known before that no force will be required. Doors will swing open without knocking. The right people will appear without pursuit. Resources will flow without begging, and what once felt like resistance will instead feel like unstoppable momentum, leaving you to look back with clarity and recognize that the delay was never a sign of divine slowness, but of deliberate protection. Proof that your destiny is far too precious to be rushed, and inspiring gratitude not only for the blessings granted, but also for the disasters you were never forced to endure. Chapter 5. Guarding your circle. Choosing who enters your life. Protection is not always measured by the events that occur in our lives, but rather it often manifests through the people whom we choose to allow, or in this case, choose not to allow, into our personal space. For there exist individuals whose presence, subtle as it may seem at first glance, possesses the potential to completely alter the trajectory of our lives, not for our benefit, but for harm. And though they may have appeared harmless, even charming, and in some cases supportive, beneath the surface their spirits carried chaos, distraction, and a form of spiritual pollution. And because they were not always obvious enemies, because some approached with smiles, carefully chosen words, and seemingly sincere offers of help, it required a discerning eye, a spiritual sensitivity granted by God, to perceive the heaviness, the contradictions, and the misalignment of their spirit with the assignment that God had placed upon our lives, revealing that they were never sent to build, but rather to break. And so, because we exercised discipline in our relationships, because we vigilantly guarded our time, our energy, and the sanctity of our personal space, we prevented them from coming close enough to inflict the damage they were capable of. We learned the wisdom of not entertaining every conversation, not trusting every compliment, and not welcoming every invitation. And although this prudence may have been misunderstood by others, who might have labeled us distant, cold, or overly private, what they could not see was that our boundaries were not walls of pride, but gates of protection, And through the exercise of these boundaries, betrayals that might have occurred were avoided, heartbreaks that might have formed were prevented, and friendships that could have rooted in toxic soil were never allowed to take hold. And this, contrary to being motivated by fear, was a demonstration of obedience to the divine discernment entrusted to us. Take a moment and truly reflect on this. Think of the countless years you might have lost, the opportunities you could have missed, and the peace you might have sacrificed if you had partnered with the wrong person, trusted the wrong mentor, or committed your heart to the wrong relationship. Many of those connections may have appeared as blessings in the beginning. They might have glittered with promise, spoken the right words, and presented themselves as divine alignments. Yet over time, they would have slowly led you away from the will of God. Their influence would have drained your energy, clouded your discernment, stolen your focus, and silenced the very voice within you that heaven was shaping to speak truth. What many fail to understand is that sometimes God's most powerful form of protection does not arrive as a thunderous intervention or a dramatic rescue. It manifests quietly as divine restraint in the form of courage to say no. No to the person who flatters you with charm but manipulates you in silence. No to the friend who always takes but never replenishes, who drains your light but never helps it burn brighter. No to the relationship that excites your emotions for a moment but starves your spirit in the long run. That kind of no is not rejection, it is preservation. It is the holy act of protecting your purpose from premature death. You may not fully grasp it yet, but the absence of certain people in your life is not a loss. It is divine evidence of God's mercy in motion. Their words never took root in your soil. Their confusion never invaded your clarity. Their instability never derailed your growth. Heaven quietly blocked what would have broken you. Without even realizing it, you've avoided emotional wounds that would have taken years, maybe even decades, to heal. You've escaped cycles of drama that would have consumed your joy and rewritten your story in ways that heaven never intended. You've been spared from entanglements that would have drained your spirit, delayed your destiny, and distorted your divine identity. And one day when you look back with clearer eyes and a stronger spirit, you will thank God, not only for the people who entered your life and added to your growth, but also for those who never made it past the gates of your spirit. Because your discernment did not just guard your heart, it guarded your destiny. Chapter 6, Divine Rewards for the Disciplined. Chosen one, understand this truth deeply. Your discipline has not been a mere habit of restraint. It has been your divine shield, your unshakable anchor, and your silent yet most powerful weapon. It was never simply about saying no to temptation or avoiding obvious pitfalls. It has been the invisible force writing your promotion letter in heaven's record. Every single moment you resisted the temptation to take the easy route, to grasp for premature success, or to settle for temporary satisfaction, you were not missing out. You were making an eternal investment in your future. Every time you silenced the craving of your flesh to obey the whisper of your spirit, you were, unknowingly, signing a sacred covenant of trust with God Himself. Heaven took note. The unseen realm watched in reverence as you chose obedience over impulse, faith over fear, and patience over pressure. What may have looked like small acts of self-control in your everyday life were in truth powerful declarations of spiritual maturity echoing through eternity. You might have believed that your discipline was only about maintaining order or peace in your life, but in reality, it reached far deeper than the surface of routine behavior. In the spiritual dimension, beyond what eyes can see, every disciplined decision became a foundational stone in the platform God is preparing to elevate you upon. Heaven does not promote talent alone. Divine elevation requires character strong enough to sustain the weight of destiny. And you, chosen one, through seasons of testing, have proven that your character is not fragile. It is fortified. Discipline, in its purest form, is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the divine evidence that you are ready for more. God will never release His finest treasures into the hands of those who cannot yet carry their weight. To be trusted with greater influence, one must first master inner governance. Every time you restrain your emotions instead of allowing them to dictate your actions, You demonstrated to heaven that you could be trusted with power. Every moment you waited for God's yes instead of rushing forward under your own logic or desires, you proved that His voice to you holds more authority than your own understanding. Your discipline has spoken for you in rooms your name has not yet entered. It has opened spiritual doors your strength alone could never unlock. You have shown heaven that your purpose is not fueled by impulse, but forged through surrender. And now, as the divine clock strikes in alignment, the rewards of that discipline, long cultivated in private, will begin to manifest in public. Because in the kingdom, self-control is not just a moral virtue, it is a spiritual signal, one that tells God you are finally ready to receive what He's been preparing all along. Though you have endured seasons where nothing seemed to move, remaining faithful while others surrendered, refusing to compromise your values for temporary gain, and choosing integrity over applause, prayer over panic, and purpose over fleeting pleasure. Every one of those steadfast decisions has been recorded in the spiritual archives as a testimony that you are not merely called, but both chosen and proven. And because you have demonstrated that success will not make you arrogant, nor pressure cause you to compromise, God now knows He can elevate you without losing you, placing you in high positions where you will still bow only to Him. For having been tested with little and found faithful, you are now ready to be trusted with much. Your discipline, once a fence designed to protect you, has become a gate leading you into your promise. For it was never only about what you avoided, but about what you built within: patience, discernment, and resilience, which have now qualified you for blessings that cannot be taken away. And thus the divine release has come, transforming what was once delayed into what is now delivered, unlocking blessings preserved for their appointed hour, as the harvest that awaited your endurance now stands ready. And because you did not faint in the waiting, you shall reap in abundance. Beloved chosen one, who not only survived the test but was transformed through them, for heaven itself will now reward you openly for what you mastered in secret. And the increase will be undeniable, the favor visible, and the breakthrough unstoppable. On chapter 7, the truth is about to be unveiled. Chosen one, there is a divine moment approaching, one so sudden and earth-shaking that it will cause every confusing, painful, and uncertain chapter of your life to finally align into perfect sense, not through a slow unfolding, but through a breathtaking unveiling that will bring you to your knees in awe and worship as God Himself draws back the curtain to reveal what He had been orchestrating behind the scenes all along. For years you have been walking through a sacred maze without a visible map, guided only by the faint whispers of the Spirit, by that quiet inner knowing that told you when to pause, when to wait, when to walk away, even when it made no logical sense. And though there were moments when you doubted yourself, moments when you felt too cautious, too distant, too different from everyone else, watching others go where you would not, accept what you declined, and seem to advance while you stood still, you must now understand the truth that was hidden in the silence. Your restraint was not robbing you, but preserving you. Your discipline was not exclusion, but divine inclusion. For every no you honored, every door you refrained from forcing open, and every delay you endured was securing your position within the perfect will and protective alignment of God. And when the reveal comes, you will see that you were never merely avoiding risk, but escaping deception disguised as opportunity. Never overthinking, but discerning the whispers of heaven. Never being held back by hesitation, but being divinely restrained by the hand of God Himself. Held back, not from something lesser, but for something greater, for the appointed time of release that now draws near. And when the reveal comes, chosen one, the scenes of your life will replay vividly in your mind, and you will remember the nights you almost went somewhere, but felt a quiet, unexplainable resistance. The deals you nearly accepted, but your spirit whispered no. The relationships that almost ensnared you, yet God blocked the connection, and in that moment, the still, small voice will echo in your memory saying, "This is why." And some of the revelations will shake you to your very core as you witness situations that could have ruined you, people caught in the very messes you were invited into but wisely declined, and the stark reality that one step in the wrong direction could have delayed or destroyed your destiny, and you will weep, not tears of regret, but tears of awe, crying, God, I didn't even know you were saving me from that, blocking me from that storm, protecting my future with that single no asterisk. And in the midst of this reveal, humility will flood your spirit as you realize that it was not your own willpower alone that preserved you, but God strengthening your will when you didn't even ask, rerouting your steps when you thought you were making random choices, and angels standing in your path to prevent you from moving forward even as delays frustrated you. And you will understand that every unpopular decision made in faith, every silence instead of defense, every step away instead of argument, every sacrifice of temporary pleasure for eternal purpose was not wasted, for heaven was recording your choices while hell fumed in frustration. And though you may not yet see the full picture, the reveal will make you stand in awe at how your quiet, seemingly mundane seasons were in fact times of divine protection, building walls so high that the enemy could not climb them, shaping a life of hidden, unstoppable purpose where God kept your next move concealed until it was invincible. And here lies the most beautiful part. When the reveal occurs, your praise will be louder, your gratitude deeper, and your faith unshakable. For you will finally know, without any shadow of doubt, that your survival was no accident, but the result of perfect alignment. So until that appointed moment, hold the line, maintain your discipline, and continue saying no when your spirit urges you to, trusting that every act of restraint is part of God's masterful design. Thanks for watching. Here ends this video. If you're eager for more, whether additional chapters to this spiritual journey or a powerful visual concept for a video or thumbnail, simply just say the word, I'm here and I'm ready to help bring it all to life.